What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It has been a few weeks since I've posted a video, but we're just coming off of summer. We're finally back here at our house in Florida. We're going back to Pennsylvania in a week from today, but it was a heck of a summer. You know, through the summer, I was expecting to have more time to do car stuff than I did. However, what we did do was a great time. I don't regret any second of it, and we made the most of it. Morgan and I got married 2 weeks ago, so wedding stuff took up most of the summer at the end of the day, and we created some cool projects throughout the way, and you guys followed along. You know, we started off at Pro Bro down at Englishtown. It's the day after Formula Drift in New Jersey. I went and I just wanted to drive my butt off because I bring the car up north every summer, and my goal this year was to get bumped up to A Group, and it finally happened at Pro Bro Down. I didn't think it was going to happen at Pro Bro Down just because it's like a busy event, but finally got bumped up to A Group at E-Town, so I was super stoked on that. And who would have thought, but that was my last time driving all summer. Either way, we had a bunch of Stansco meets at Warrington Dairy Queen, so they were super fun, and I performed an entire LS swap with Kenny, which you guys followed. That was like a 4 or 5 video series that we had there. Kenny got married at the beginning of September, and we LS swapped the GTO. We picked it up, we LS swapped it, and got that running and tuned up all for his wedding and in time for his wedding. So that was super cool. It was a really good time. I love hanging with Kenny, and I feel like he learned a lot from the LS side of things, and now I have him looking up LS engines to put in some of his other projects that he has too. However, that kind of spiraled into what our winter's going to look like here. So now that I'm back in Florida, we're going to give a quick little recap and then what to expect, because obviously we're going back home next week, and the car, the Drift V, is still up there, and we are going to be drifting Haunted Moves, my favorite event of the year. Any drift event all year long, I love Haunted Moves. The vibes, immaculate. The weather, immaculate. It's always good time. It's like a nice fall event. But this is gonna be my first time driving Haunted Moves in A Group, so Friday night drift party, pretty stoked, because things do typically get pretty rowdy on Friday night. Even just when I was driving in B Group, like, all care is gone when it comes to driving Friday night. The more as the sun goes down, the track gets dark, it's pretty wild. So quick rundown. Stansco, the lower control arms, the adjustable lower control arms, are currently with the welder. So if I'm gonna get them on the car by Haunted Moves or not, we fly in Thursday morning, and I'll have all day Thursday to prep the car. Friday, I just want to focus on loading, so we'll have all day Thursday to prep the car. We'll see. I'm gonna make a video on them. We'll see if I can get them on the car for Haunted Moves and get it all dialed in. I'm obviously going to bring my factory lowers with me, and just in case anything goes wrong, we don't want to lose any driving time at the best event of the year. So that's where we're at with the lower control arms. Testing coming soon. Then we have our spherical upper strut bushings. We got these pieces 3D printed, and we have our little circlips in here, or our snap rings, whatever you want to call them. And I'm just waiting on bearings to come in, because bearings were back ordered. They use a metric bearing, a very specific metric bearing, so they were back ordered, so we have an order in for those. So once they come in, I'll test fit them in this piece, and then I think from there it's going to be getting a batch made. We're going to test fit this piece in the car, obviously, but we can't run a 3D printed piece, so keep an eye out for these. Lower shock bearings are on the list as well for November. As long as the lower control arms go well, that's the next step, because those lower shock bearings will create an adapter bracket and a bunch of stuff with the lower control arm that I can bore you with now, but there's no need for that. And what else do we have on the Stansco list? Working on a little steering clevis for a 5/8 hind jointed tie rod. So that's something else I've drawn up on Fusion, and we'll see if we can make it happen later in the year, beginning of next year. I'm hoping to have these lower control arms tested and released before, it's either going to be at the very end of 2025 or the very beginning of 2026. These adjustable lower control arms should be available for purchase. So, quick rundown, what's going on here? We haven't been home in 5 months, so there was a lot to catch up on. So obviously, I moved my entire Stansco operation to Pennsylvania, and now we're back. Shout out Kenny for the cool gift here. Got a little garage light box. He got me this white 3000 GT. My dad actually gave me this 70 Monte Carlo right here, and then I had this Porsche laying around, so we'll get some more cars in there. It's pretty sweet. But then we got the whole Stansco setup going here. I have an angle kit that I'm actually packaging right now. I'm just waiting on 2 items to come in, and then we can get this out the door. So we got our new batch of billet blocks in a few weeks ago, and then we have all of our other components here and whatnot. So pretty cool to see another angle kit heading out into the wild, and I believe they'll be picking up some other stuff and doing an install video for us on these. The 3000 GT, the retired drift car, she's safe and sound and covered under plastic, and so is the Black V, both of which are covered. And I've been really trying to organize and clean the garage. It looks a little messy, but it's organized chaos at the moment. But like this workbench right here, where I do a lot of like the dirty work, the grinding, the drill press, this had like a mound of stuff on it, because usually when we leave for a few months, it gets pretty chaotic here, and the garage is usually left a mess. So I've been working on organizing, cleaning, throwing out a bunch of stuff I don't need, because we have a new project coming in. Now, you might have seen me mention when I was working with Kenny on the GTO, the engine we pulled out of the GTO is coming to Florida, and we are building that engine to be put into the Drift V. And it's an LS2. The Drift V has the LS6 in it right now. My black car has an LS2. So we're basically going to be making it like a newer Gen V, later first Gen V. So the 06, 07s came with the LS2. So we're going to be putting an LS2 in the 05. And I need space, because in 2 weeks, there will be a new engine in the garage, and it needs to go somewhere. So my idea is to turn this space that you see, obviously the engine hoist and the engine stand, but this stuff, it's gotta go. I gotta get rid of this stuff right here, because the idea is that this is gonna be in between these 2 cars. I will have the engine, and I can, move that stuff back as I clean some more of that stuff up and find home. I have stuff like that need like a hose reel that has to get hung on the wall, like just things that need to get put in their homes where they belong, or their new homes. But this is where I'm going to try and make as my engine building area for this LS2. Now, the LS2 was just supposed to be a refresh, because the LS6 that's in the car is a little tired. It still makes okay oil pressure, good enough. But every time I drain the oil, more and more bearing material is coming out of it. And I think it's just getting tired, because it has over 238,000 miles on it. So it's pretty crazy how many miles are on that thing, and it just keeps taking a beating. So I want to get ahead of it and build an engine. Now, this will be the next step. With that LS6, I took the heads off. I, did the cam and all that. I never touched the bottom end. So this is gonna be my first dive into a bottom end build on an LS. We're gonna do new bearings. We're gonna see how the internals look and all that. We're gonna, address things as we go. But then one thing I also always wanted was an LSA supercharger. I always wanted it on my black car, but realistically, my black car will not be around forever, because she's a little rusty, she's a little crusty. So I was like, let's put a supercharger on the drift car. Now, thank you to my wonderful wife, my wedding gift was a supercharger. Now, while this is that was jumping a big hurdle in the process of, starting this build, there's a lot of stuff that has to come along with it. But the stipulation was that the supercharger has to be used on the drift car, and the supercharger has to go on to an LS2 that I build. So a little bit of motivation there. So we come back down to Florida, and I start doing a little research on superchargers. And I don't know about you guys, but LSAs have kind of gotten expensive. I don't know why. Well, I know why, because you can put them on everything. I think there's just a demand for them. So I start looking around, and I find ICT Billet makes a LT4 to LS supercharger adapter. Now, I didn't know this existed until a week ago. And I haven't seen a lot of people using them yet, but I have seen some LT4s like garage built adapted to an LS engine. So ITT makes this really cool adapter. So I was like, let me look into LT4 superchargers. Now, they are a 1.7 liter supercharger as opposed to the 1.9 on the LSA, but at the end of the day, both will make more power than I need out of the car. That's what I'm looking for out of the car. So I hop on Marketplace as soon as we get down to Florida. Actually, it was like a couple days before we were even back in Florida. And this is what I landed on. This right here is an LT4 supercharger sitting on the table in my garage, which is kind of wild. And I bought it off a Corvette owner. He upgraded to a Magnuson 2650 and a built motor on his car. He's making over 1,000 horsepower. And it is a very clean unit, and it'll do the trick for us. Now, upon arriving to meet with this very nice gentleman that I bought this from, we're actually Facebook friends now because he wanted to follow the build. He informed me that I had a Grip Tech 2.3 inch pulley on it. So that's a smaller pulley. That's pretty cool. And the Grip Techs are like kind of the way to go because they have this unique coating in here that helps with belt grip. But then I'm looking at this thing. He didn't mention this part, but I'm looking at this supercharger after I get home, and I'm like, man, it definitely looks like some machine work has been done in here. So I start doing some research, and I come to find out that obviously this has been resealed. You can see the RTV, which I will likely reseal this snout because whoever resealed it used a lot of RTV, and they ended up with just some like overflow in there, which obviously has been there for a while, but turns out this supercharger is also ported. So while it's not only just an LT4 blower, which I was looking for a stock blower, I would have been happy with that. I ended up with a LT4 supercharger, Grip Tech 2.3 inch pulley, and it's ported. So we're gonna be flowing more air. Pretty wild, if you ask me. So that brings the question of what's the move? How does an LT4 supercharger work on an LS? Well, ICT Billet, as I mentioned, they make an adapter now, and that adapter basically allows the supercharger to adapt to cathedral port heads, and in those adapters, they have holes for LS3, LSA style fuel injectors. And they come with Holley fuel rails and all that stuff. So we're basically gonna be able to mount this supercharger onto the car. And kind of the cool thing is that I like the fact that all the fuel rails and stuff are gonna be underneath the supercharger, so you don't have all that stuff wrapping around the top. It really cleans up the whole appearance of the top of the supercharger, and over on the engine bay, you'll just have the heat exchanger lines and stuff like that that gets added. So we, this winter, are going to be building an LS2. We are going to be supercharging it with an LT4 supercharger and some the proper adapters and things like that. And we're gonna record it, and we're gonna follow along. You guys are gonna follow along in the whole process, because I don't know yet for sure if I am going to be, sticking with certain bottom end accessories, or if I'm going to be doing a fully built bottom end on the LS2. I don't really know just yet. So you'll have to stick around for that. I also have the parts CTS that you guys saw, and while I would love to turn that into something, like I said, that the rear quarter panel had a pretty good crease in it, so that's why I wasn't going to use it as a body swap, like a shell swap for my Black V. But that car, I'm going to finally, once we come back from doing the Haunted Moves weekend, I'm finally going to take that car apart, and I'm going to basically strip all the exterior body panels off of it, and you keep those as spares for the drift car, because you never know when you're going to need a door or a fender or whatever it may be. And then from there, I'm going to part the rest of the car out. Everything I possibly can. I'm just going to list it all on eBay, try and sell what we can off of it. And then once I have the whole car stripped down, I'm going to take it, we're going to scrap it, and all that money is going to go towards building the LS2 and putting the rest of the pieces together for the supercharger. So that is kind of how we're looking right now. We have a couple good Stansco parts in the works. Hopefully in my Haunted Moves video, we have some good test results. If we can get the all I'm thinking is supercharger. If we can get the extended lower control arms on the car and dial it in before the event, hopefully we'll have some good results from that. Otherwise, yeah, we have those shock pieces and things like that I mentioned earlier. So we got some good parts coming, and from there, we're gonna actually get into another build. And thankfully, I'll be able to keep drifting the Drift V while this build is happening. But then once we get to the point where we have an assembled engine, an assembled supercharger setup, the car's coming in, we're pulling that drivetrain, we're putting the new drivetrain in, and I feel like at some point I'm going to be teaching myself how to build a T56 as well, because that 238,000 mile T56 probably isn't going to like, the 550s to 600 horsepower to the wheels that I'm hoping to be able to put down on this car. So we'll see. We'll see where it takes us, and we'll see where next season goes. But with that being said, thank you guys for hanging around. If you made it this far, drop a comment down below, of whatever, I always like answering questions. So if you have any questions about the builds or things like that, just drop it down below. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next video, which will probably be Haunted Moves. So next week, Haunted Moves, E-Town, Raceway Park. If you're in the area, if you're at the event, come say what's up, and we'll see you guys there.